we're showing indefinite proof that indeed we are the Israelites according to the Bible. Again, this is Black, Hispanic, and Native American history that God left us in these last days to get our minds right as his people. Right. Read that, verse 48.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 48.
So we read, cursed shalt thou be in the city. That applies to the Israelites. Cursed shalt thou be in the field. Sons and daughters given unto another nation of people in slavery. Read verse 48.
Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies.
So God said, because of our disobedience and breaking God's laws, we would serve our enemies. God said that we have enemies here in the land of America. Read.
Which the Lord shall send against thee.
The Lord sent them against us for breaking his commandments. We read back in verse 15. I got your question, brother. Give me a minute. Read.
In hunger.
In hunger. Now, I got a question for you, brothers. When y'all hungry, where do y'all go to get food? Where y'all go to get food at?
To your the grocery store.
Grocery store.
Or your market, whatever you got set up for your market. Yeah.
Right. Tops,
Your
Wegmans,
your produce, yeah.
Price Right.
Right.
Right? All these different places. Now, who owns these establishments, these different corporations?
Wow.
Different people, other than black people.
Who own all these businesses, young man?
White people.
Our
White
enemies.
people. Everybody other than your race.
The white people. Every other race but your race. So, going back to the first part, God said, you shall serve your enemies. Read.
Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies,
Read.
which the Lord shall send against thee.
For what?
In hunger.
In hunger. Tops, Rite Aid, Walmart, Wegmans, and what?
And in thirst.
And in thirst. We go to these same places. Dasani water,
Sure
Fiji
do.
water,
Yeah.
Poland Spring, Deer Oak. All these different water brands are owned by the so-called white race. Not our people, again. Showing indefinitely that the Bible is a real book and it applies to our people. Read.
And in nakedness.
And in nakedness. So if you look at the back of your tag on your shirt, you'll see made in USA, made in China, made in India, made in Beijing. Going back to what? The first point. You shall serve your enemy. You shall serve your enemies. Read.
And in want of all things.
And in want of all things. So when you're born into this earth, they give you a birth certificate. They
Yeah.
give you a social security number.
Right.
You die, God forbid you die today, you got to go to the so-called white man and get a death certificate.
Isn't that something?
That's something.
heavy.
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
You got to get a loan from the so-called white man.
Right.
You got to go to your enemy for the want of all things for breaking God's commandments. Let me finish this, brother. Keep reading.
And he shall put a yoke.
Now, I want everybody to look on the flyer that you got. It's a depiction of pictures of the slaves in slavery and the chains that we had on. Let's see if the Bible records that. Read.
And he shall put a yoke of iron.
Now, your enemy, the enemy that God says shall come upon you, shall put a what?
A yoke of iron upon thy neck.
Somebody tell me on the front of that page, the picture, what's on the slave's neck?
Yoke of iron.
A yoke of iron. Brother, what's on the slave's neck? It's a yoke of iron, right? A yoke of iron. Again, the Bible is a book of prophecy that God would happen to his chosen people in the latter times if we broke his commandments. Read that last part again.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
And he, the so-called white man, will put a yoke of iron upon our neck until he did what?
Until he have destroyed thee.
Brother, let me ask you, what's your nationality according to the Bible?
I'm from Liberia.
You're from Liberia.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Way back.
you would say you're Liberian.
284 years ago.
Okay, so you identify with Liberian,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Brother, what's your nationality? What do it?
Black.
Black African American. Brother, get in the chair. What's your nationality according to the Bible? African American. What about you, brother? African American. So we got Liberian, Black and African American, and these two brothers are African American. Now go to verse 37. Now remember, the Bible said, until he have destroyed thee. Now I'm just showing you, brothers, in these last days, we don't know that we're the Israelites according to the Bible. We don't know our God-given nationality.
Right.
We are Israelites according to the Bible. And if you look on the back of that flyer, it gives the 12 tribes. Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Ephraim, Manasseh, all the way down. Those are the names that God gave us. But he said, until he have destroyed thee. Now we don't know how to take care of our families according to the Bible now. We don't know that we must keep God's commandments. We don't know to stop whoring out our sisters and to take care of our families until he have destroyed thee. This is what God is talking about. These young brothers you see on the corner selling drugs, that's being destroyed. You'll kill your own brother because of another sister. You'll kill your own brother over a chain or over some sneakers, or because he looked at you a certain way. Until he have destroyed thee. That's what God was talking about. We don't know how to deal with one another now because we are destroyed as a people. Read that, verse 37.
Verse 37.
Read.
And thou shalt become an astonishment.
Now, who knows what World Star Hip Hop is?
World Star Hip Hop.
World Star Hip Hop?
A black
A black platform, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now what you see on there? What's the type of content you see on there?
all kind of crazy stuff.
All type of crazy stuff, but it's a black platform. God said we shall be what?
In astonishment.
In astonishment. All you see is sisters twerking. All you see is brothers shooting at one another, right? All you see is club let-outs, fighting. These are the things that you see. God said you shall be in astonishment. When the other nations look at us as a nation of people, they are astonished at the way we act. They are astonished at our behavior. Are they not, brother?
Yeah.
The sisters with the coyote in their head, with the blonde hair sweeping the floor, God said that we shall be in astonishment. Brothers sagging their pants. Pull your pants up. God said that you are God on this earth, that you are a king. We shall be in astonishment. Read.
A proverb.
A proverb. All black people like watermelon. Right? That's a proverb.
Yeah.
All Puerto Ricans carry knives. All black people could jump high.
Right.
You've heard these proverbs before, right?
Sure have.
That's a proverb. That's what God was talking about, biblically. Read.
And a byword.
And a byword. Now, what you said, brother, Liberian is a byword. Black is a color in the crayon box. African American comes from 2 European white men. Leo Scipios Africanus and Amerigo Vespucci. And you shall become a what?
A byword.
A byword. We no longer identify with the Bible being the Israelites from the tribe of Judah. The Israelites from the tribe of Benjamin and Levi. We don't identify with that anymore in these last days because we've been destroyed as a people.
You have. Man, you're heavy.
All
You're
praise to the
heavy,
Most High, brother. Read that last part again.
A byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead.
So God said we shall become a byword, whither you shall be led in all nations. Our people are over in India, called the Seeds or the Untouchables. We're over in India.
Yeah.
Our people are over in China.
Uh-huh.
We're still over in Africa, Sierra Leone, along the Gold Coast. But guess what? We're a byword amongst all nations. All nations hate us as a race of people because they know we are God's chosen people. They know that God chose us to rule this earth, to be his people. Now, go to verse 64. Go to verse 64.
Verse 64.
Read.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
Now, God said he shall scatter us among all people. History, the transatlantic slave trade that took place in 1619.
Yeah.
God said he would scatter us amongst all people to the four corners of the earth. Read it again.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
All people, all people. You'll find the Israelites. You'll find brothers and sisters that look just like us over in Brazil, in Germany, in China, in Africa, because he scattered us all over. Read.
From the one end of the earth even unto the other.
Showing from the eastern hemisphere all the way to the western hemisphere, God will scatter his people. Read.
And there thou shalt serve other gods.
Now, God said that we would serve other gods. We should serve other gods beside him. What gods would that be? Read.
Which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
So these gods that we would serve, our forefathers did not worship. They did not worship these gods. What gods are these? Read.
Even wood and stone.
Now, let me ask you, brothers, what are the two biggest religions on this earth today? Let me ask you, brothers. What's the two biggest religions?
I would say Catholic Catholicism.
Catholic, Catholicism, Christianity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, what's the second one? What's the second biggest religion we worship as a people?
Catholic?
We said Christianity.
Pentecostal?
Not Pentecostal. That falls under Christianity.
Methodist?
Not Methodist. That falls under Christianity. Islam.
Yeah, Islam.
Oh.
Christianity and Islam are the two biggest religions that we're in as a people. Read the last part again. What did God say about these?
Even wood and stone.
The wood is the cross.
Yeah.
The wood is the cross for Christianity.
Yeah.
The stone is the stone over there in Mecca that our people walk around, make
Yeah.
a hajj,
Yeah.
and bow down and kiss the rock.
Right.
That's what God was talking about. Even it's crazy, right, brother? That's in the Bible. Read it again for the brother. No, the last part.
Even wood and which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
Read.
Even wood and stone.
Even wood and stone. Even wood and stone. Christianity and Islam. Two of the biggest religions that we will be in these last days, going away from God, was prophesied in the Bible. Now, do not all these curses that we're going through, do they fit the so-called blacks?
Yeah.
Yes? What you think, brother?
Yeah.
Yes? What you think, brothers? Go ahead, ask your question, brother. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
If God chose us to be the chosen people,
Yes.
why are we the one that's destroying each other?
Good question. Go to Daniel 9 and 11.
Wow. Hey, can you give me?
Matter of fact, go to Hosea
I got another
4:6.
question too after that.
Yes, sir,
Can
I got
write
you.
that
So,
down, man. Shoot, I got to learn some of that. I mean.
hey, brother, our information is on the back of that flyer.
Oh.
We got our phone number, our
Oh,
school.
man.
Give me one. I'm gonna get to you, brother. Read Hosea 4 and 6. So the brother said, if we're God's chosen people, why are we destroying one another as His chosen people? Aren't we supposed to be dealing with one another uprightly? Right? That's a good question. Hosea 4 and 6.
Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6.
Read.
My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
Now, God said that his chosen people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. The knowledge is God's commandments. We are destroyed because we lack God's commandments. Read.
Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee.
God said because we have rejected his knowledge, rejected the fact that we must keep his commandments as Israelites, he will also reject us. And that's why we're cursed in our community, selling drugs to one another. That's why we murder one another. That's why the woman that we sleep with, we won't marry her. We'll plant seeds in different women and not take care of our children. Not understanding that perpetuates what we live in today as a people. These women grow up without a father, thinking that it's okay to be whores, or these brothers sleep with multiple sisters because that's the example that was set before them. Myself being a product of that when I came up, before I came into this understanding. All of us have been a part of that, all these brothers. All of us probably single parent households. But that was a curse from God. God said that he would reject us for breaking his commandments. Keep reading.
That thou shalt be no priest to me.
Read.
Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God,
Read.
I will also forget thy children.
So God said because we forgot his laws, he will forget our children. And again, this is why we go through the things we do today. Now, jump up to verse 1. Now, let me show you what God said would happen in the last days. The things that we will be doing to one another. Read verse 1.
Hosea chapter 4 verse 1.
Read.
Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel.
You so-called black men are Israelites, the children of Israel. Read.
For the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the
The
land.
controversy, the Lord said he has a problem with the inhabitants of the land. Us, the Israelites. Because what?
Because there is no truth.
There is no truth in this land. God's commandments are not being taught in these Christian churches. Read.
No mercy,
No mercy is in this land. Read.
nor knowledge of God in the land.
Read.
By swearing and lying,
By swearing and lying. Read.
and killing and stealing.
And killing and what?
Stealing.
Killing and stealing. That's the first thing we talked about when the presentation first popped off. The murder rate that's happening. It's murder, it's shootings happening every single day.
Yeah.
The sister that just got shot, what was that, in Cobb's Hill with her children in the car? She got shot 17 times by two brothers. God said because what is in the land?
Killing and stealing.
Killing and stealing. The murder rate is going up across the nation, and we see it here firsthand in Rochester. The stabbings, the murders, the stealing from one another, robbing one another, all these different things. Keep reading. I'm gonna answer your question.
And
Read.
committing adultery.
And committing adultery. We love to deal with one another's wives, one another's girls. Sisters love to deal with other sisters' men, husbands. Adultery is in this land. A lot of adultery. Read.
They break out, and blood touches blood.
And blood touches blood. Murder. Murder. This was prophesied in the Bible. Does that answer your question, brother?
Yes, but why is it only our race? We got the Chinese, the white people. Every other race, they can come together and build, and we are the only race that doesn't.
Psalms 147, verse 19 and 20, and Zephaniah 2 and 1. So the brother made a good point. Why is it that the Chinese man can come together in solidarity? The Arab man can come together? The white man can come together? Why can't we as a people come together? That's an excellent question. Psalms 147, verse 19 and 20, Zephaniah 2 and 1. Read.
Psalms chapter 147, verse 19.
Read.
He showed his word unto Jacob.
And that's part of it, because he shewed his commandments unto the Israelites.
Yeah.
He commanded us to keep his laws. The other nations don't have a God. They don't have laws to keep. He gave us his laws to keep. Read.
His statutes and his judgments unto Israel.
His statutes and his judgments unto Israel. So he gave us his commandments and the repercussions for breaking those laws to his chosen people. Read.
He have not dealt so with any nation.
What did the Bible just say?
He have not dealt so with any nation.
What does that mean, brother? He had not dealt so with any nation. What does that mean?
Ain't nobody but one.
Nobody but one. The brother hit it right on the head. God has dealt with no other nation but one, the Israelites. So the curses that you see us under as a people predominantly upon us, because he gave his commandments upon us.
Yeah.
No other nation has a higher STD rate than us, a higher abortion rate, a higher murder rate, higher single parent household than us, because he gave his statutes and his judgments unto us. Because he didn't know any other nation. Zephaniah 2 and 1.
Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1.
Read.
Gather yourselves together.
Now, God says to the Israelites, you so-called black men, gather yourselves together in these last days. Read.
Yeah. Gather together.
Now he says it again. Gather together. Come together. Read.
O nation not desired.
We are not desired as a nation of people. And this is why they separate us into different religions. They give us different names to call ourselves by. Like, brother, you identify with Liberian,
Yeah.
which I understand out of your ignorance, you called yourself that.
Right.
Brother said black, African American. That separates us as a people. If you call yourself Methodist, I call myself Baptist.
300 years now.
Right, exactly.
Oh.
And this brother calls himself Seventh-day Adventist. That's going to divide us. If you're Democrat, he's Republican, I'm liberal. That's going to separate us as a people. But God said, what? Read it again. Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. God said to gather together, come together under what? His commandments. Our commonality has to be keeping God's laws and resurrecting our nation according to God's will. Read that. Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. Did that answer your question, brother? All right, so read that, Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1, and then Amos 3 and 3. And then we're going to get to this brother question.
Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1.
Read.
Gather yourselves together. Yeah. Gather together, O nation not desired.
Gather together, O nation, O nation, O nation. The blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans make up the nation of Israel. God said to come together. Amos 3 and 3, under what?
Amos chapter 3 and verse 3.
Read.
Can two walk together except they be agreed?
Now, God said, can two walk together except they be agreed? Now, who remembers the Million Man March? I believe it was with Farrakhan. That was Farrakhan, correct?
Right.
Now, yes, it was a beautiful thing that brothers was able to come together. But what were they missing? God's commandments. God's commandments. It fell apart because it was not founded on God's commandments. God said, can two walk together except they be agreed? Our commonality has to be that we're Israelites according to the Bible. You believe that we must keep the faith and commandments in Jesus Christ. You have to believe that. We have to have the same vision and the same mission to wake up our people. Psalms 127 and 1. Can two walk together except they be agreed? And that's why we out here in the streets. We come to the barbershops and we utilize these different outreach efforts. Again, we want to thank the brother for allowing us to come to teach our people so we can come back to God's laws and gather together as God has commanded us. Psalms 127 and 1.
Psalms chapter 127 and verse 1.
Read.
Except the Lord built the house,
Except the Lord build the house. Read.
they labor in vain.
And that's what we see with the Million Man March. God said they labor in vain.
That's right.
It's going to come to naught. It's going to come to nothing. Except the Lord build the house. Build it off what? God's commandments. This is the foundation that we have to build off of. Malcolm X tried to redeem us. It didn't work. Marcus Garvey, Fred Hampton, Sojourner Truth, Nat Turner,
Yeah.
Martin Luther King. What happened? It all came to nothing because it wasn't founded on God's commandments. You understand that, brother?
Yes.
All praise to the Most High. You had a question, brother?
So, okay, it happened, right? And he gave it to you. I'm saying like, but he also said how it's gonna come back, though, right?
How he's going to come back?
I know how he's gonna correct. Though he gave you the way. I'm giving it to you in the beginning, so you don't have to do it. So you correct yourself from the start, and you won't be in a situation.
So elaborate a little more so I understand.
Okay, like so. Okay, I'm leaving you the words. I'm giving you a book right now.
Right.
So you follow these books, or this was gonna be. So basically, if you don't follow that, you're gonna be a victim of your own circumstances.
Yes, Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 19, and then Sirach 15 in the last verse. Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 19. So God left us up to our own will. He gave us his commandments. He said, what you choose is up to you, life or death. God left us in the hand of us. So what you see, the fruits of what's going on in our communities, is because we chose to go against God. Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 19.
Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 19.
Read.
I call heaven and earth to record this day against you.
So Moses said to the children of Israel, I call heaven and earth to record this day against you. Read.
That I have set before you life and death.
He said, I set before you life and death. You ever watch The Matrix? It was like the blue pill and the red pill. He had a choice to choose what he wanted, the blue pill or the red pill. God said, I set before you life or death. What ye choose is what ye shall get. Read.
Blessing and cursing.
Blessing and cursing. So we will be blessed as the Israelites if we kept God's commandments, which we were at one point in time under King David and King Solomon. We ruled this earth when we kept God's laws. But when we broke God's commandments, we went into captivity under the Babylonians, the Persians, the Syrians, the Romans, the Greeks, and now here in America. Read.
Therefore, choose life.
God said to choose life. God is pleading with us to keep his commandments. He doesn't want any of us to perish, the scripture says. He wants us to keep his laws. I got you, brother. Hold on. Read.
That both thou and thy seed may live.
That thou and thy seed may live. So what you do as a black, Hispanic, and Native American man affects your household. So if you choose to break God's laws, your children are gonna most likely come up breaking God's laws. They're gonna follow after what you teach them. So if you teach them to sell drugs, what are they gonna do? They're gonna sell drugs. If you teach them to sleep with multiple women, what are they gonna do? Sleep with multiple women. If you teach them to only be invested in materialism that defines them as a man, that's what they're gonna believe in. So we have to teach our children the laws of God. We have to rule our households according to the laws of God. Our nation must be governed according to the laws of God. But going back to the brother's point, God set before us life and death. We chose death. We chose Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68. Read that. Sirach 15. Sirach chapter 15 and the last verse. I have commanded no man to do wickedly. And then we're going to get another question and we're going to finish up with Deuteronomy 28. Read.
Sirach chapter 15 and verse 20.
Read.
He hath commanded no man to do wickedly.
God said, I commanded no man to do wickedly. That was not my commandment. My commandment was to choose life or death. My commandment was to keep my laws as my people. He said, I've commanded no man to do wickedly. We pull death upon ourselves with our own minds, leaning onto our own understanding. Read.
Neither have he given any man license to sin.
God has not given us license to do sin. Here, still today, in America, we must keep God's laws. We have to keep God's laws. And we understand that we're still under the curses of God based on our condition that we live in as a people. We see that the curses of Deuteronomy 28 are still in full effect. Everybody understand that?
Yeah.
All right, did anybody have any other questions before?
Who
Yes,
was
sir.
Moses now? Yeah, I see heard of him.
Who was
The Bible,
Moses?
the leader of the people of Israel, but was he, I mean, genetically, was he black or?
Yes, Exodus chapter 4 and verse 6. Brother asked the excellent question. What color was Moses?
There you go.
Moses was a black man according to the Bible. But how is he depicted here in America as a so-called white man? How was Jesus Christ depicted? Let me ask y'all that.
White.
A white man.
Yeah.
What about Miriam? White. What you
Yeah.
think, little man? What color is Jesus Christ? You said Jesus Christ is a black man. All praise to the
There you
Most
go.
High.
Good.
But a lot of our people think that Jesus Christ is a so-called white man.
That's right.
And it shows how we deal with one another. Because let me break it down to you psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
If I see Christ in you, brother, I'm gonna deal with you as I would deal with Christ.
Right.
Because I see Christ in you.
Yeah.
I look at you as my brother. I'm gonna love you as I love myself. But if I think the so-called white man is Jesus, based on the false image of Jesus Christ, we're gonna think his children are the people of God. And that's why you notice you'll see a so-called white man walk on one side of the street.
Yeah.
Black man will be on the same side of the street to see him coming, put his head down. Why? It's an inferiority within our mind. We don't think we're superior than other nations, even though God said we're the greatest nation on this earth and that he looked just like us. Read that, Exodus 4 and 6.
Wow.
Exodus chapter 4 and verse 6.
So Moses was a black man. We're going to show you out of the Bible. Read.
And the Lord said furthermore unto him,
Read.
Put now thy hand into thy bosom.
So start at verse 1. So we know it's dealing with Moses, and then jump to 6.
Verse 1. And Moses answered and said, But behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto my voice.
Read.
For they will say, The Lord hath not appeared unto thee.
Read. Now jump to verse 6.
Verse 6.
So it's dealing with Moses. Read.
And the Lord said furthermore unto him, Put now thy hand into thy bosom.
Now, the Lord told Moses, put your hand into your bosom. Put it into your bosom, right? Read.
And he put his hand into his
So
bosom.
Moses put his hand into his bosom. And then what?
And when he took it out,
He took his hand out now.
behold, his hand was leprous as snow.
Now, if Moses was white, what would be the miracle in him turning white?
Playing around. Right there.
Turning black.
Let me ask it again. So read that part again.
And he put his hand into his
So
bosom.
Moses put his hand into his bosom.
And when he took it out,
He took his hand out now.
behold, his hand was leprous as snow.
Keep reading.
And he said, Put thy hand into thy bosom
Now,
again.
his hand is leprous as white as snow. He took it out of his bosom.
Yeah.
Now the Lord told Moses, now put your hand back into your bosom. Read.
And he put his hand into his bosom
Now he
again,
put it back into his bosom.
and plucked it out
He took it out again.
of his bosom.
Uh-huh.
And behold, it was turned again as his other flesh.
Showing what? His other flesh was black.
Right.
Because when he put it in the first time and took it out, it was leprous as snow.
Snow.
Right, he put it in
Oh,
again,
okay.
took it back out, and it was
Black, black.
it was black. It was black. It was black. Now give me Numbers chapter 12. We're gonna deal with Mary. Numbers chapter 12. Mary, I'm gonna get Revelation 1 and 14. Numbers 12. Read verse give me that.
Numbers chapter 12 and verse, let me read,
Start at verse 6.
verse 6.
No. Start at read 9.
Numbers chapter 12 and verse 9.
Read.
And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle.
Read.
And behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow.
Miriam became leprous, white as snow. So what was her other flesh before she became leprous?
Black.
She was black. Moses was black. Miriam was black. Revelation 1 and 14. Christ is black. We got to understand that our Savior, the black Messiah, looks just like us. And that's going to affect how we deal with one another as a people, believe it or not.
We used to scream black power while Heron was pushed But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are how men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.